December 27th, 1983. A young woman lies dead in her Inglewood apartment. The killer? Still out there. But the LAPD doesn't care about finding the real murderer. They need a body. They need someone to blame. And Maurice Hastings, a 23-year-old black man with his whole life ahead of him, is about to become their target. What would you do if you stumbled upon something that challenged everything you thought you knew? Would you walk away? Would you investigate? Our protagonist faced exactly this choice. Now, before I continue, why do you think most people avoid the unknown? 38 years. That's how long Maurice Hastings spent behind bars for a murder he didn't commit. 38 years of birthdays, Christmases, and funerals he couldn't attend. 38 years, while the real killer walked free. But this isn't just another story about the system failing a black man. This is about what happens when that man refuses to break, when he fights back. When justice, real justice, finally comes knocking with a check for $25 million. Welcome to Black Reckoning. Please tell us from where you are listening to this story and subscribe to our channel. This is the story that keeps me awake at night, because it proves, absolutely proves, that miracles hide in plain sight. Maurice Hastings wasn't supposed to be a statistic. Born and raised in Los Angeles, he was the kind of young brother who actually believed in the system. 23 years old in 1983, working honest jobs, trying to build something. He had dreams like everyone else, maybe start a family, maybe buy a house one day. Simple dreams, American dreams. Now you need to understand what Los Angeles was like for black folks in the early 80s. This was post-Watts riots, but the tension, still thick enough to cut. The LAPD had a reputation, and not a good one. Rodney King was still years away from making national headlines, but every black person in LA already knew the deal. You could be minding your business, and suddenly you're face down on the pavement because you fit the description. Maurice knew this, his mama knew this, his friends knew this. But knowledge doesn't always protect you. Sometimes being black in America is crime enough. And on October 19th, 1983, Maurice's life changed forever. He was arrested for the robbery and murder of Roberta Weidermeyer, a crime he had absolutely nothing to do with. Here's where it gets twisted. The prosecution's entire case against Maurice was built on one thing: a photo lineup. That's it. No fingerprints matched Maurice at the scene. No DNA evidence linking him to the crime. No witnesses who could definitively place him there. Just a photo lineup shown to one person who said, yeah, maybe that's him. But wait, it gets worse. The crime scene had biological evidence: hair, blood, DNA that could have proven Maurice's innocence right then and there. But in 1983, DNA testing wasn't a standard procedure. And even when it became available years later, the LAPD conveniently couldn't locate that evidence. Let that sink in. Evidence that could free an innocent man, just misplaced. Maurice's public defender barely put up a fight. Underfunded, overworked, probably didn't believe Maurice anyway. Another black defendant in a system that sees guilt before innocence. The trial was swift. The jury, they took one look at Maurice, heard robbery and murder, and their minds were already made up. January 1988, Maurice Hastings was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He was 23 years old when he was arrested. By the time that gavel came down, he was 28. 5 years have already gone by, fighting a losing battle. And the real killer? Still out there, still free, still breathing air Maurice would never breathe again. Year 5 in prison. Maurice is 33 now. He's watching men around him break. Some go crazy, some give up, some die. His mama visits when she can, but it's killing her. He sees it in her eyes. Every visit, she looks older, more tired, more broken. That's when Maurice makes a choice. He could let this prison consume him, let the rage turn him into what they already claimed he was. Or he could fight, not with his fists, not with violence, but with patience, with persistence, with the kind of faith that doesn't make sense to anyone on the outside. Maurice started studying law. Every book he could get his hands on, every appeals process, every technicality. He wrote letters, he filed motions. He became his own lawyer because nobody else would fight for him. And he never stopped saying 5 words. I didn't commit this crime. Appeal denied, appeal denied, appeal denied. For 38 years, that was Maurice's reality. Every time he thought he found a crack in the case, the system sealed it up. Every time new evidence pointed to his innocence, procedural rules blocked it from being heard. In 2000, 17 years into his sentence, DNA testing finally became sophisticated enough to test the evidence from the crime scene. Maurice immediately requested testing. You know what happened? The LAPD claimed they couldn't find the evidence. Couldn't find it in their own evidence locker. For years, Maurice watched the world change through prison bars. The 90s came and went. 9/11 happened. Obama became president, the first black president, and Maurice watched it on a prison TV. He watched his mother grow old. He watched his friends on the outside build families, bury parents, and live entire lives. In 2018, Maurice's mother died. He doesn't get to say goodbye, doesn't get to hold her hand, doesn't get to go to her funeral. He's been in prison for 30 years at this point. 30 years for a crime he didn't commit. And now his mama's gone, having spent the last 3 decades believing her son was innocent, but never seeing him free. That could have broken him, should have broken him. But Maurice just kept fighting. In 2021, enter the Los Angeles County Conviction Integrity Unit. This is a special team created to review wrongful conviction cases, specifically cases where racism, bad police work, or corrupt prosecutors might have put innocent people away. They take a look at Maurice Hastings's case, and immediately red flags everywhere. Remember that missing DNA evidence from the crime scene? It wasn't missing. It was sitting in a storage facility in Sacramento the whole time, for 38 years, just sitting there. And when they finally tested it, it didn't match Maurice Hastings. Not even close. But here's the kicker. It matched someone else, Kenneth Packnett, a man who died in prison in 2020 while serving time for other crimes, the real killer. And the LAPD had his DNA on file the whole time. October 20th, 2022, Maurice Hastings walks out of prison, not on parole, not on bail, exonerated, completely innocent, charges dismissed. After 38 years, 7 months, and 1 day behind bars for a crime everyone now knows he didn't commit. Maurice is 62 years old now. He went in at 23. He missed his entire life. The age when you're supposed to be building a career? Prison. The age when you're supposed to be raising kids? Prison. Weddings, birthdays, holidays, his mother's death, all are in prison. For nothing. But Maurice isn't done. In 2023, he filed a civil lawsuit against Los Angeles County. He's not just asking for an apology, he's demanding accountability. He's demanding payment for 38 years of stolen life. September 2024, Los Angeles County settles $25 million, the largest wrongful conviction settlement in California history. Not just a payout, a statement, an admission, a reckoning. Now, $25 million sounds like justice, right? But let's do the math. 38 years. That's 13,870 days. 25 million divided by 13,870 days, that's about $1,800 per day. $75 per hour. For 38 years of your life. For missing your mother's death. For never having children. For never kissing your wife. For watching your youth disappear through prison bars. Can you put a price on that? Maurice Hastings' story isn't unique. It's just one they couldn't ignore anymore. How many Maurice Hastings are still behind bars right now? How many black and brown people are serving time for crimes they didn't commit because some detective needed to close a case? Because some prosecutors needed a conviction rate? because some jurors couldn't see past the color of their skin. But here's what Maurice's story teaches us. The system is broken, but it's not unbreakable. Justice delayed is justice denied, but justice denied is not justice destroyed. Maurice fought for 38 years. He never stopped believing. He never stopped fighting. And eventually, the truth came out. That $25 million, it's not just compensation. It's a message to every wrongfully convicted person still fighting. Keep going. Document everything. Demand that DNA testing be done. File those appeals, because somewhere someone might finally listen. And it's a message to the system. We're watching, we're recording, and we will hold you accountable.